Hello World, JWP, J Ward, JWP, Primo Beats. And again, my stream caught me in the back. I like to monitor my stream. Explained that in last video-ish. I'll be looking at IK Multimedia's tape machines as a mix support instead of an effect. Last video I was looking at it as an effect. I'm just going to jump right into FL Studio here. Alright, fair warning. I have 3 different tracks here. These are my tracks, Primo Beats. Well, the last one I categorized as not Primo Beats, as it's not really a rap beat or my type of sound. I was experimenting with IK Multimedia's tape delay, space delay. Yeah, so since I've highlighted that, we'll give that a quick listen. But yeah, fair warning, that's not a very good mix. But fair warning, I will be moving through three different beats, and they have different varieties. The first one is a little bit harsher, a little moody. The second one is a little more upbeat, bouncy, and the third one, as you just heard, is kind of trip out 80s Pink Floyd-y kind of stuff. So yeah, sometimes that I remember when I first started, bouncing around different keys and stuff. Like, so I had a key switcher. It can make it a bit sick to the stomach. Just a fair warning. Don't let it phase you. So let's do a quick preview here. This is the moody, sort of harsh, rough, how you say, heavy. Second one is bouncy, energetic, smooth. And as you heard before, the third one is trip out. Alright. My setup is on insert 1. It's not supposed to be on insert 1. It's supposed to be on the master. So let's move that over to the master. And we'll clear this one. Default. And I have the tape machines lined up. They are default settings right now. Just a quick limiter, nothing happening on the limiter. This is just to keep any changes that the tape machines are going to do. The demonstration or the examination here, I'm just going to check my stream, make sure everything's all good. The examination here will be kind of for each track. It's an overall mix, overall. So I'm not going to go in as an effect or individual tracks as a tape machine should be. IK Multimedia's tape machines, I've noticed, are kind of greedy, and it seems like as the numbers get bigger, they put more work into emulation, or that's just the way things are. Let's see if we watch the CPU from 1 to about 20, 22, 25, and as we go more, are we getting variations? No. No. I just felt that's the way it was in the past. So in my opinion, or my perspective, is a tape machine. The tape machines used to record more than one track. And they used to share that whole piece of tape, that whole strip of tape for all the different tracks, right? But as a whole mix, like, all the tracks went in separately. So they kind of had their own designation within the tape strip. So each track kind of sounded a little bit different from the other ones. Right now, the focus isn't as, individual pieces, but the whole mix is running through the tape machine, which isn't a sort of proper emulation. And in order to do that, I'd have to have all my inserts running, like no bounce downs, no mix downs. But, the workflow and a tape machine on each channel. The problem with that, of course, is the CPU. And right now, we're just going to look at it like that. One whole track running through the tape machine. So it's as if that tape machine is stripped down to one channel, or 2 channels as a stereo. Further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start with the 24. Actually, I got to set some settings. Of course, like I've said with my previous video, these are, let's clear everything here. These are exaggerated. So what I'm aiming for isn't, the subtleness of a tape machine, a little bit of warmth or whatever. I'm looking at, let's make this sound like a cassette tape. Let's get the overall effect. Let's make these tracks sound like they were just chewed up by a tape machine. So we can dial things down a little bit and see what it sounds like as subtle, but we're not going to go subtle. We're going to go about halfway between subtle and exaggerated. Or how you'd say conservative and exaggerated. I usually break things down into 3 different groups. There's conservative, there's elegant, and there's exaggerated. And yeah, that comes from graphic design or desktop publishing. So yeah, let's get into it with the 24. We're gonna jump in here. We're gonna set some layups out, set some layouts up. So we're gonna go full bias, and we're gonna bring that level full blast and the output down. Actually, I should explain a bit about the machines. I'm not going to go into the history or what they're emulating. There's lots of videos about that. These are practical application examinations. So, as I've outlined before in the previous video, this is a different video as a mix. I'm going to go through them again. Input, output, and I've noticed that focusing on these guys here, the levels here, are easier than jumping back and forth between those knobs. So this record area level in, this is the pushing into the tape, and play level here is coming out. So turning the level play up won't drive into the tape. And the only thing that will drive into the tape is the level into the record. So play is just to, modify the output so it's not blaring. In contrast, these 2 big knobs here would kind of be the same thing. But everything's nice and tight right here. You can get right in there and just do everything as right there. Other options are the different tapes. These are tape emulations or modeling. So there's 4 different reels. These are actual physical tapes, and they switch out, as you can see up there. Tape speed, and faster speeds mean more of a high fidelity. Lower speeds mean less fidelity. Bias, I've stated before, in my opinion or my perspective, this is kind of like bit depth, but for tape. So a high bias, it would be like 1624 bit depth in the digital world, whereas like 0 would be 8-bit, 4-bit. It's how much the tape is picking up the audio. I don't know 100% if that's really what that means. I have to do the research. Other controls are true stereo. With the IK Multimedia setup, they have modeled differentiations that the tape machines would make in true stereo or in the stereo channels as if they were separate. So a little bit of grunge or a little bit of tape on each channel separately. Turning that off will make them not mono, but it'll do the same thing to both channels. So just a little subtle thing, those little subtle things. Transport modeling, I believe, is the tape head. There is no controls for that. Input will bypass the tapes and go straight through the machine emulation, model, physical model. So you get circuit opposed to tape. Repo is the tape, everything through the machine, into the tape, out of the machine. Did I go over the different kinds of tapes? Yeah, I believe I did. Tape speed, bias, check. All right, I'm going to reset because I just did a bunch of fumbling around. We're going to start with the highest bias, best tape, fastest speed. Of course, all that stuff stays as is. And crank that level. Bring it down a bit on the output so it's not overdriving. And I got to do that to each tape machine. So these examinations are just going to be pretty informal. And full bias, high level, bringing it out at 0.3. Check the levels as we go, high tape speed. So this, what I'm doing now is setting them up for highest fidelity saturation. Full bias, level full blast, level out, 0.3. best tape, highest tape speed, and last one. Best tape, highest speed, full bias, driven full, and down. As I've said, these are exaggerated examples. So these are going to come out super crunchy. All of my tracks going through are mastered with, well, not really mastered, but mixed with ozone. These aren't any real cuts. They're not published anywhere. So in my opinion, they're not mastered. Master to me is a final cut that gets set in stone and published, and you can't change it after. Alright, I think we're ready to go. Starting with a 24, we'll start with this top track here. This is Moody and Heavy. Looks like 440 is boosting too much somewhere, because yeah, my limiter just chewed that up. What's the level at here? Let's fill it again, just 440. What's different about the 440? It shouldn't be pumping that hard out. Did I miss something on the other guys? Maybe it's just what the 440 is doing. That's a lot of gain. Bring that down. Say 0.1. Level blast. Just want to check everything's levels. Blast. So yeah, the exaggerated examination here, it sounds like, you know, you're really pushing those tape machines. Like, that's way too much. Nothing should sound like that in a mix. Nobody wants to listen to that. But it's just a test. See what they're doing, like, exaggerated. I'll go for more, I'd say, less exaggerated, just to, you know, touch on exaggerated. So it's like, I don't like the way this sounds, but that's what it's doing. I will not be doing a subtle approach. Alright, how's that level? Come up a little bit, I think. There. So same settings, exaggerated. We're going to be moving on to the more energetic. Sounds like I can get a little bit more boost out of this guy. This guy sounds lost. Alright, now 440 is too clean. What did I miss? I'm going to reset the settings for 440. Change highest quality tape, full bias, full level, and bring that down a bit. Get anything out of that. 440 really that clean? Did I miss something? Guess so. It's disappointing. Shouldn't be that clean. Whatever. Alright, moving on to the moody or the trippy kind of mix here. Not liking what the 440 is doing, and I don't know why it's doing that. So, push this in 6. And drop this -6, and maybe we'll get more drive out of it. Nope. More exaggerated. Let's just crank it right in there, and I can take a hike. There it is. All right. So, what tape did I have for those? So no default tape. No, highest quality tape. Maybe that was wrong. Highest quality tape, highest speed. All right. Looking at now. Try for something more subtle. So, why still full blast? Let's go half level. Level. It's probably still gonna blare, but at least we're further away from that really blaring sound. Like, but we still want to hear an emulation or an emulation of the environment of a tape machine. And thinking about it, like with the tape machines, even though your levels are going in, I'm not entirely sure how the systems used to work. If you could control directly for each channel, but the way that the setups look, it looks like when you set these things up for the tape machines, you only had one, that one setting for all the channels. So even if I did do, individual inserts just to get, sort of an emulation of the environment, multiple channels into the tape machine, it would still all be one setting, one tape speed, one type of tape, one bias for all channels. No variation. Of course, in the digital environment, we can, assuming your CPU can handle it, have individual inserts for each one and change the settings. So change the settings for bias and stuff per channel. So a realistic emulation of a tape environment with, individual settings, not individual settings, but all the tape machines on each channel or each insert here would have all the same settings. The only difference would be the kind of drive from each channel into the tape machine. That would be a realistic approach to a classic tape machine, in my opinion. All right, so we're at, I believe, 0.5. Just going to double check because I was blah, blah, blah. Double checking. Oh, it's coming in at 5. Of course, we're getting a drop in gain, negative or 0.3. So I might have to go in and fix that. We'll just do one right quick, the 24. And we'll start with that moody mix. Moody rocky, kind of hard. Yeah, we lost a lot of gain there. So let's go into each machine and bring that output level to 0.5 to go in line with the into the tape input, so that we can actually hear what's happening. So this is not the subtle approach. This is, you know, what the tape machine is doing. Of course, these ins and outs. I might have to look at the 440 again. Okay. In fact, this would be the subtle approach. I was hoping for something more exaggerated, so since the subtle setup, let's go with the subtle. Yeah, I figured I'd have to go back into the 440 and fix this. Okay, again to the 440. Top-notch bias. Middle input. Maybe we can bring out a bit of a boost. +6. That way we're getting a little bit of chew. Alright, back to the 24, drop this guy out, onto the next track. Alright, and the trippy one. Oops. See, this whole subtlety thing, this is kind of the examinations I don't like. Because we're not getting a real feel. You can hear the difference between them, but I don't know. I'm just not really feeling the way this is going. So let's get a little bit more exaggeration happening. Bringing that level, say 7. Can I click there? So 0.7, and we'll drop this down 0.3 again. So let's go 0.4. Not sure what's going on with the 440. It's behaving differently than it was as an effect. 7 and bring that down 0.4. So this is the exaggerated test, but not as exaggerated as the first one. 7 and 4. And that's the wrong one. Left that one. 7 and 0. Maybe that's what I've been doing wrong. Yeah, that's probably what it was. They kind of overlooked that in the design stage there, and you make all your controls horizontal and then flip the last one. Yeah, that's probably what I was doing. Flip the last one so it's vertical, and then you got people like me, I guess. So we could probably turn off this input. Have a consistent type here. So exaggerated, and this is highest bias, best tape, top speed. Back to the rock one. believe that's what that was with the 440. So it's moving the wrong knobs. All right, next track, something smoother. Right, and the trippy one. Let's start it out dry. All right. On the other side of the spectrum, we have. Let's see. I could do some stepping and stuff. This is probably going to be a short thing. I'm not really into the concept of using the tape machines as a mix. Plus, I wanna look at, the plausibility of using one tape machine for inserts. So we're gonna jump way to the other side of the spectrum where we get like that low quality, like zero bias, cheapest tape at a low tape speed. And same input, we're coming in at 0.7 and our level out is 0.4. So still exaggerated. Low speed, low quality tape, bias is 0. And this is probably just gonna chunk. Chunk like the Goonies. Do the truffle shuffle. And bear with me for a second, I need some water. Alright. Starting with the heavy one. 24 and go so chunky. Lowest quality. Oh man, no, it's even worse than some of the cassettes I used to have. The 80. So I don't know if I said it in this stream yet or this video. I used to have these videotapes of cartoons when I was a kid, like cassette tapes, and I tried to check them out when I was older, like teenager, adult, and I guess they aged or deteriorated or something. And that's the definition of tape saturation for me. They just, they would just blare, and the vocals you couldn't even hear them. Wah wah wah, and it just cut through, the TV and jumped out like knives into your ears. It was just brutal. I couldn't watch them anymore. No nostalgia for me that day. Anyway, yeah, that's my definition of tape distortion. And that, what we just heard, was kind of how they sounded. They were a lot worse than the high end. Let's move through some more. Maybe we'll get some of that kind of sound, that really brutal chew. Yeah. And for trippy. there's not really much you can do about that. I mean, the demonstrations I just did were from high quality tape emulation distortion to like, the low quality tape emulation distortion. So the tape machines are pretty dynamic in the sense that you could get somewhere in the middle, but I'm not really going to go in the middle, and that's not, nobody wants to listen to, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, lo-fi even, no, that's too much too. All that was just too much too as an example, but I won't be doing any subtleties because, no, those are examples. You can do the subtleties if you want them, go get them. They're on sale right now, I think $25 each. And yeah, this is May 6th, 2021. It's my birthday tomorrow. Subtlety. There was two extremes. I don't think level in would matter. I think it'd just mess up the it'll just make the bias worse because then the tape isn't getting enough input. Like right now, it's a little bit more than it should have. But if I drop that level out, let's try it. So from the 24, we're going to bring that input level out down to 0.3. So 0.3, and we're going to up this output to, let's say, 7. So this is, the tape head isn't getting enough information. Level in, 0.3, level out, 7. And it's the lowest bias. So the tape head not only isn't, magnetically charged to pick up data, but the data isn't being pumped through enough, in my opinion. We'll find out here. We'll see if my concept of what bias is correct. The bias level 7, no, wrong level. Remember that. 0.3, and this guy's 0.7. All right. So from the top again, the heavy mix. And we'll start it dry. Yeah, I didn't even do anything. Well, let's actually turn up the output too. See, that would probably be one of the subtleties. You can still hear something going on there. It's probably the true stereo. There's a lot of gain reduction just because, yeah, like the exaggerated, where you're really hearing something happen, isn't there. So that's a subtle demonstration, which I'm not going to be going through. What are some other tests? Bias. Did we cover full bias at 7 before? Or, yeah, full bias. I don't believe I did. If I did, I'm gonna do it again. 7, 0.3 out. I might have originally, but that was when the level in was cranked to the max. Yeah, I don't believe I did cover a conservative amount of in to the bias. Full bias. I've never been turning these bias knobs up. Where am I? I'm on 2, so I guess I can backtrack right here. Bias. And level in. 7, conservative amount of input. 7, bias? No, full bias. Level into the tape, it's 0.7. Level out from the machine, 0.3. And I just want to make sure I got bias on here. Full blast, yeah. Didn't I change input output on something? Full bias. Looks like all the inputs and outputs are back to the level. Okay, so we're going best tape, high speed, full bias. So this should be top quality emulation with a conservative amount of input. What am I doing? Oh, I'm switching everything. Top quality. Done. And the last example I did was kind of that conservative input to a low bias, which was really subtle. I had to crank the output knob. So this is more exaggerated. Starting with the rock again. Next, smoother one. It's coming in dry. And the trippy one, coming in dry. Alright, subtle, but still pretty exaggerated. I mean, nobody really wants to listen to that, like especially like that really fuzzy chew. Like that's how I remember my cassettes tapes. After a while, or when you try to make your own mixtape and you get your input too high or something. Yeah. So those are exaggerated tests. That was top quality emulation. So this tape, highest bias with a conservative amount of input as a low input, high output, low input 0.3 as I did before. It's too much of a subtle approach. So I won't be covering that, but yeah, that was the previous test, which didn't happen. That one was the one I just did was highest quality emulations, and it was pretty nice. Like it doesn't touch everything, whereas the low bias touched everything. It just chewed. That high bias though was just grabbing it, just barely grabbing it. Most parts, especially with the 74 or 24 here, it really sounded like that on that smooth track, like a really old cassette tape you had kicking around, or your own homemade mixtape. Moving on, what do I want to do here? I want to test a track run. So I'm going to save this right quick. I'll just call this test. Tape test. Won't be keeping this, just saving it because maybe I won't want to come back to it during this video. I'm going to open a full-on mix. So neither of these tracks, these two tracks, little explanation about that. These were mid-side labs. I was messing about with the mid-side stuff. And then of course this one was the IK Multimedia Space Delay. And there was not really, actually I did a bit of mid-side in there. It was just a great scratch track. I think I even did that this morning. Oh, wait, I'm lost in time here. It was yesterday morning. But yeah, a little background around the track. And then this next track is one of my favorite tracks that I have. I want to go for full-on mix. So this, in my opinion, is mastered as a beat, as a cut, for an artist to, this is what I'm going to listen to. As far as like an actual track, something I want to write to, if I can. It isn't mastered to that point. Just waiting for vocals. There's a couple touch ups. I actually put it in front of a ton of music, a ton of Twitch streamer, and he gave me some feedback, some really good feedback. He opened up my eyes to speakers, like physical speakers. I use headphones, and I thought I could get away with what's it called, flattening, the response of the headphones, and that was good enough. But when you have two real stereo headphones, the waveforms in the air can actually cancel each other physically, and that's something I'm now learning. So I do need real studio flat response speakers. Can't get away with just having headphones. And of course, the sub is always nice. And I mean, look at my input. That's why I want to look at this. My CPU is just driving. It's just up there. My ASIO driver is FL Studio ASIO. It's 2048. I have triple buffer on, and I'm still riding way up there. So, a final mix. Can I insert them on all the channels? No. We'll give it a quick play. Hopefully, the thing survives. Not sure what I can do in the background to open up some resources. I'm not running a whole lot. It's the stream really is probably, adding that little extra. Stream it at the same time. So here's the track. So yeah, I could bounce it, but that's not the point here. I want the outputs. I think it's probably ozone really eating things up. Without ozone. Okay, so I recovered some CPU. Recovered some CPU, but I imagine in a real mixing situation or a real mastering situation, something like ozone, the mix bus, the master bus, would have it running before the tape machine. Right? Wouldn't that be how? Yeah, because the tape machine is the final stop. But then you wouldn't be able to have individual inserts because you'd be going through like a multi-band compressor or that master guy on top. So everything would be mixed down and then into the tape machine. Well, because then why would they have multiple channels on a tape machine? I guess that's just how they would run because you didn't have, digital space. Either way, the tape machine should have to be on all the individual inserts. And the problem with that is for testing, because they'd all have to be the same, I can't just bounce around like a dashboard. I gotta build a dashboard to control all the parameters of IK Media's, tape machine. This is quite the task, quite the test. So the data would be coming off the tape machines into the master. Yes, that's how I'd imagine it. Yeah, because you track, right? You track first, and then you'd, do some post mixing. I don't know if they ever did record live, read into their effects. I imagine they would. But in this situation, the best emulation would be straight to the tape machine before the master, after the master. Confuse me. Confuse me. Let's just do a drum bus, perhaps. Drum bus. Drum bus, instrument bus. Drum bus, individual instruments. Everything in individual. Decisions. Well, CPU wise, I'm already at 100. So drum bus, individual instrument bus. Same settings. Then I'd only be able to do one test. Well, it's not really my thing, but I imagine that's how it'd be used. I feel like it's used more as an effect for my use case scenario. And I'm really liking the 99 as much as I want the 80 or the 144 for that bass. 99 kind of seems like the all around. Let's do at least in an individual drum bus. And we'll leave the instruments as is. Individual drum bus. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it for the mix tests. Not much else I can really do with this stuff. And I don't really know the logic flow of what a real studio would have used, the tape machine. So in the end, what I've covered already is where it's at. As far as an emulation of using them on your track. This kind of track wouldn't have a lot of distortion. It doesn't have a lot of distortion, I don't think. It's got its neutrons distortion, exciter. Well, let's go put in the work and do individuals here. And since I'm favoring the 99, I believe, use that. Dead. Can't see past my chat box. So there's a 99 there. Be strong. In some of the settings, we will go high quality. Oof. CPU is like, no. Go high quality. One moment. Alright, had some IRL to deal with there. Okay, so working on overloading my machine. Now, level output 0.7. That's that conservative input, and we're going to go top quality emulation, highest tape speed, highest thing, yeah, okay. Will be a bias full blast. And sometimes the mic system's not going to be able to handle an individual. We'll see. We'll see, maybe I can mix it out. if my FL Studio doesn't crash. The computer's like, what are you doing? What can I do here? I wish I could just turn off all effects at once. I need to recover. So I'm just gonna recover some CPU and get these guys loaded in to that setting. I'll export it out. That's enough. That's enough recovery here. I'll export it out and give a quick demo of that on stream, I suppose. Seven level. What is the level? 0.3. And GPS. Okay. Oh, yeah, we're peeking out again. Okay, I gotta go back because I gotta make sure my biases are all full blast. I got a little bit distracted there. Bias full blast level 0.7, output 0.3. This has to be set up right. Oh yeah, and this is demo mode, so it's gonna come with noise. Level 7, 0.3 output. Seven, 0.3, full bias, top quality tapes, and I gotta go back and check those. Top quality tape and speed. Top quality tape. Bias. Tape. High bias. Levels good. Move into the base. Bring a new one in. I'm gonna drop these effects chains here. Okay. Full bias. Chat boxes in the way. 0.3. Bias top quality tape. Drop that. Rhythm out. Rhythm left, right. Or low high rather. Out. Yep. Yes, IRL. Good times. 0.3. Top quality tape. Drop that. Arpeggio. Oops. EQ there. Okay. Let's drop that now and we'll put that in after the EQ. I hope my signal chain's right here. I feel like I'm kind of distracted. Okay, full bias. Conservative level at 0.7. Bring that level back down at 0.3. Quality tape. These are 2. Another EQ there. Machine. Right, top quality. Yeah, I don't even know if this is going to even let me export because these are demo modes. 0.7, 0.3. Out. Did I drop the effects? Yeah, okay. Nothing on the lead. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, because everything's in the lead there, which is already turned off. Top quality tape. Level 0.7, 3, full ice, top quality tape. Alright, I am not going back to double check all that. What can I do to fully bring out some users? Turn off remove span. I'm not going to be able to even listen to that. I'm going to save this as X version. Actually, I should put that a label. Call that, this is a 99. 99. Tape machine TM99. TM99, and I can polymorph it. I mean, these aren't even really in line with the signal chain anyway. Hopefully those signals out were okay. I bring ozone back online and start adding the effects and watch my CPU just flatline here. Get chunky. Okay, so that's full power. My CPU is at 101. Alright, let's get chat. Listen to it. No, not happening. Okay, so export. That's a wave. I gotta check my dithering. Ozone here. Ozone. And dithering. This is what before I really knew about dithering. Medium noise shaping, medium dithering mount, 16-bit. Put that filter on, turn that off, leave it on, and that's where it is. I'm not changing any of those settings right now because I can't get any feedback. Okay, export as a wave. I'll throw that right into my folder. Of course, this is going to be unusable because the demo adds noise. So save. And because Ozone's doing the 16-bit dithering, I want to make sure dithering is off. 16-bit. Is there anything else? No. So go. Looks like it's going to take a few minutes. Not too long. I guess I could tell a story. Yar. I don't even know if anybody's here within the chat. Looks like someone is. But yeah, I could go read IK Multimedia tape machine descriptions. I guess it's relevant whilst time tick away and my poor computer attempts to output individual tracking of the tape machines. T-Rex, T-Rex tape machine. Alright, tape machine. Let's just open all of these up. Here's a whole collection. Okay, so starting with the 24. Professional analog tape recorders are highly prized tools, valued for the unique character they impart to audio. Interesting considering that they were designed to be as transparent as the technology of the time. And I can't read. One fantastic machine designed and manufactured in the US has the unique sound which is carefully recreated in the T-Rex tape machine 24. The MCI JH24 was first produced in 1980 and was a staple in studios across the US throughout the 80s. This completely transformerless, high-performance op-amp-based design delivers a pristine, phase-coherent, and remarkably true to the source audio performance. So that is definition of the 24. 80. When it comes to professional analog multi-track tape machines, there's perhaps no more respected than the Stutter A80. This swish machine became the universal standard for professional high-end multi-tracking, and now it's available for you as the Tape-Racks Tape Machine 80. The A80 was produced from the 1970 through to 1988 and remained a studio staple throughout that time. In its various revisions, the A80 became an essential part of countless influential records, with a preferred blend between transparency and subtle harmonic enhancements. And that one is the 80. The 99. So I'm going to clear my throat here. So this is my preferred one. This one looks like a little standalone guy, opposed to the other ones that are the big studio guys. Analog recording to go. When it comes to the character of analog tape machines, most of us think of the massive units found in record studios throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But companies like Stutter also produced smaller units, which became staples in broadcast and location recording. The Tape Machine 99 recreates the Revox PR99 Mark II, a compact rack-mount stereo recorder produced by Stutter in the 1980s under the Revox brand, engineered around a hybrid design that takes the best of discrete and op-amp topologies. It offers an unhyped, elegant sound with an extremely smooth frequency response. Tape Machine 440. The allure of tape machines is easy to understand, the iconic signature that has been heard on countless classic albums. Warmth, subtle high-end sweetening, all the above, and above all, gentle saturation and compression that glue your tracks together. It's all yours in the T-Rex 440. Tape Machine 440. Oof, that was my renderings done. The Tape Machine 440 is modeled on the iconic Apex EG440B stereo recorder. The 440 series dates to the late 1960s and delivers an unmistakably soulful color that made this historic mixing and mastering machine a legend. Alright, let's listen to some playback here. Okay, so I can close this. Yes, closing. New, let's take some stress off the CPU. Save. Yeah, go ahead. So I'm going to do an A-B comparison here. I can now close Custom Shop. And keep in mind as well that there will be noise because these are demos. Noise on my wonderful track. Okay, so I'm just going to load up this wave here. I'm not sure if my original was dithered. I don't think it was. So that's the original. It's the same setup as how I had it in the analog tape machine guy, just with the tape machines. Okay, something happened. Sounds like the PDC went buggered. Okay, so original. And the tape machines. Well, my computer survived. My plug-in delay compensation was a little bit messed, but there's a little bit, you can really hear the separation between the instruments as they were individual channels. So perhaps because the way the tape machines are realistically or conceptually, you could throw the tape machine on your last channel as a mix support. And then when it comes to the end, you get where you want it. You take all your channels and run them through the tape machine, or you get it where you want it. Then, copy that instance onto each insert. And you can't change anything. This is, emulating what it used to be like back in the day. You can't change anything between the tape machines, but it'll give a little bit more separation in your stereo. It'll give that, that feel between the stereo. And then you can obviously remove it from your master. And export. Now, of course, your computer won't be able to handle it well. unless you're watching this in 2050 where you're emulating a 64-bit environment in a 128-bit environment or something, and you've got quantum processors and stuff, and you can handle that. Anyway, that's it for that test as a mix, and I believe I am way past an hour, 5 minutes past. So thank you for watching. If you did, if you're actually watching live, it's cool too. That's the end of this video. Throw up the out bumper. And until next time.